Jeff Rich live from Phoenix. Every week is a new guest, and at this time, it pleases me to introduce from Sports Byline Radio. He's a contributor on the Sports Overnight America show. I've got Ernest Hester, comes to us from Mesa, Arizona by way of New York City. What's up, Ernest? Good to see you face to face for the very first time.
For sure, Jeff, my main man. I'm happy to be here, man. What's going on?
Oh man, too much. We got the Super Bowl coming up this week. We got breaking news, from the former Dolphins head coach Brian Flores. We could talk a little bit about the Suns, but first, I want to start off with what you do to make the rent money and whatnot when you're not talking on the radio.
Oh, man, when I'm not talking on the radio, I'm doing anything and everything regarding sports, predominantly at Mesa Community College right now, out in Mesa, Arizona, supporting our Thunderbirds.
Right on. Go T-Birds.
Our Lady T-Birds right now are poised to make the playoffs for, I believe, about the 7th, 8th straight season. Men are, regrouping right now. We'll come back next year with a better squad, and we'll be looking to make some noise.
All right, so how deep is the women's tournament? Is it 68 teams like it is at the Division I level, or is it a little smaller group?
Well, I think the big tournament, which is in Hutchinson, Kansas, is somewhere around 40 teams. It may be 60. I think it's been condensed over the last year or so due to COVID. But before they get there, there's still the regional games and the city games that they have to win, and then they'll if they win those games, they'll be able to get out to Hutchinson, Kansas, and compete for the national title.
All right, does MCC have a rival here in the Valley?
Oh man, I think we have a couple. I'm not sure if they're mainly here in the Valley, even though Phoenix Community College is considered one. Yes, of course. I do believe Arizona Western has been one of our most heated rivals over the last decade or so.
Where are they at?
Arizona Western is in Yuma, Arizona.
Yuma, Arizona. So you've got the Maricopa colleges. Yeah, you got Pima down in Tucson. They play in the same league?
Absolutely. We play them twice a year. We usually go down to Pima Community College, play them, and then they'll come up here to Mesa Community College and they'll play us. I believe this year we split with them. I think they won one down there. We got this one, so we may see them again in the playoffs, and when we do, we'll be ready.
Let's go a little further back. Before your days at MCC, I believe that you got paid to actually play sports, which is everybody's dream, and you got to live it for a little bit.
Absolutely. 10 seasons, 5 seasons mainly in the minor league, 10 seasons altogether as far as with the organization, but 5 seasons from 05 to 2010. Did play minor league baseball for the Arizona Diamondbacks, played center field. Again, I like to make it a joke, but that was one of my biggest mistakes. Maybe I should have back-catched or played another position because of Chris Young. That man was an excellent center fielder, so there was no way I was going to leapfrog him.
All right, and if you're listening on audio only, my man's got the New York Yankee cap on, the iconic NY on the navy blue navy blue cap. I assume you grew up a Yankees fan in New York City.
Absolutely. I got to tell you the irony of my life of being a diehard Yankee fan and, going to the parades every year, and then 10 years later being drafted by the Diamondbacks, man, was full circle. But yes, I'm from Harlem, New York City, so the Yankees, oh, man, I don't know what to say. Derek Jeter. I go back, man, though. It's not just the current Yankees or the winning Yankees. I go all the way back, man. Charlie Hayes, Bernie Williams, Paul O'Neill. Those are my guys, man. John Wetland.
I mean, that was the team that made it happen. Actually, it was funny because Wetland was actually the closer back in '95. He probably was still the closer in '96, even though that was a championship year against the Atlanta Braves. Charlie Hayes caught that last out in foul territory, along the third base line. By the way, it's just the little stuff that I remember because I'm not a Yankee fan, but I remember the Yankees putting plenty of hurt on my Cleveland Indians, especially going back to the old Cleveland Stadium when they had Donnie Baseball and they had Ricky Henderson and Billy Martin was the manager of the team sometimes, and then Steinbrenner would name someone to replace him and rehire Billy the next year.
But that was the Bronx Zoo. I always sit back and watch some of the vintage videos of that and footage, man, and that was that was a wild time. You know, the whole crowd running onto the field. You know, Mr. October trying to get off the field. He's knocking people out the way, trying to get to the dugout. It's just
back in '77, his first year there.
Iconic, man.
Did you watch that documentary about the son of Sam and the '77 Yankees at the same time? It's called The Bronx is Burning.
I don't think I got a chance to check it, but I do remember something about hearing about it. I have done brief history on the Son of Sam, so I do know around that time, you know, it was just a lot of things going on in New York. Plus, of course, you know, you had the drugs as well, you know, so there was just a lot of things going on in this.
Well, it's wild to me to watch a movie like Ghostbusters that was, you know, filmed in New York City in the 1980s, and it was such a dirty city. You know, they made fun of the crime every week on Saturday Night Live, and then, you know, in the 90s, you know, Giuliani becomes mayor, city kind of, you know, cleans itself up, and now it's a nice place. I've heard it's a phenomenal place to live, but it's also a nice place to visit at this point.
Absolutely. New York City is always going to be top on, let's say, anybody's bucket list if you're not from there. I love everything about New York City. I always tell everybody that it is definitely something that you need to do. Definitely go there with a friend, or when you get there, meet up with someone so they can really show you, you know, everything that New York City has to offer. A beautiful place.
It's more than just Manhattan.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Despite what TV tells us, right?
For sure. Because New York City is predominantly split up into 5 boroughs: Bronx, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and every place has its own, you know, destinational point that you would love to go and check out and view, other than just the Statue of Liberty, of course, right? So
yeah. That's good stuff. All right, so let's move on from New York. Let's talk a little bit about the team that did beat them in 2001. Now, my backstory is that I moved here September 16th, 01. 6 weeks later, first week of November, Diamondbacks win the World Series. Kind of hard as a fan to latch onto that because I'm so new in town. But growing up in Cleveland, I never saw a championship celebration, and I didn't get to go to the parade because I actually had to cover up my job for somebody that was going to the parade. But Diamondbacks, fast forward to around about now, they've dumped Zach Greinke, they've dumped Paul Goldschmidt. They've traded everything that's not bolted down here in Phoenix, and it just seems like there's so little hope. Now you always have these trades, and I like to point one out that happened back in 2002 when Bartolo Colon was on an Indians team that wasn't going anywhere. They talked about it in Moneyball a little bit in relation to Ricardo Rincon, but the big trade piece that the Indians had that season was Bartolo Colon, and back from the Expos. Back when they were a thing, they got a guy named Lee Stevens that was a veteran journeyman first baseman. They got a guy named Grady Sizemore that was like a double A outfielder. They had Brandon Phillips that was an up-and-coming middle infielder. And they had this left-handed pitcher named Cliff Lee. They all came over. They were all like double A, high A prospects. And they all panned out. At least Stevens and Bartolo Colon didn't get the Expos to the playoffs that season. So you do know that sometimes when you get rid of front page talent, a guy like Paul Goldschmidt, which is still disappointing to me because he was overall the face of the franchise. I mean, Randy was just here for a short time. Luis Gonzalez was just here for a short time, and then you had guys that the fan base didn't really latch on to.
Richie Sexson was
done by the time he got here, but you get the gist. I mean, they've come a long way from starting, having a Travis Lee, Uriel Durazo, platoon at first base. Now it's just hard to recognize. I mean, it's Ketel Marte, and you just kind of knock on wood. I try to figure out who who their ace is every year, especially since they got rid of Zach Greinke. I mean, that guy, I had a low opinion of him from the Dodger days, and he's just kind of a standoffish kind of guy. And it didn't play well when I was watching the clips and the video at home. But it's a different feeling when you stand in that clubhouse. Absolutely. And you talk to those guys. Fernando Rodney blew a save at one of the games I was covering, and I looked him in the eye, and I went home with a different attitude about Fernando Rodney. And people around the water cooler would bring him up and be like, you know what, he's a good dude. He sat there and talked to us for 10 minutes after he blew a save. That's the worst moment of your life, kind of wrapped up into one day to be a closer that doesn't take home the win.
Absolutely. But Fernando Rodney just lived. He lived and died on that 95, 98 mile put an hour heater. So if it wasn't, hitting those locations, then it was likely going to be a souvenir. But just to go back and touch on the whole Diamondbacks team, back in '01, see, we had 9/11 would not, have happened yet, right? Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, we were really bracing for this championship. I mean, we were going for 4 and 5 years,
and a big series win in the LCS against the Seattle Mariners, who were the best regular season team of all time.
Absolutely. And so, talking about closers, if not for young Kim, I dare say my Yankees might have been swept that year.
I look at it the other way, though, to be honest with you, Ernest. I got Ernest Hester,
yes,
my new correspondent, both by day and by night on the national show that I do. Glad to have you in studio. You're talking
so happy to be here, Jeff.
You talked about Bernie Williams. That was a guy that I always wanted to play center field for my team. I did, and the music career aside, I thought that he was kind of the dude. What do you think the Diamondbacks prospects are going forward? I mean, they play in a tough division. San Francisco just won 107 games. The Los Angeles Dodgers just won 106. Everybody's kind of waiting for San Diego, for that youth in San Diego to turn the corner. So it's like, are the Diamondbacks and Rockies just going to jockey for 4th and 5th place in the NL West for the next 5 to 7 years?
That's a good question, but there's a separation there, because when we look at the Rockies, I mean, if we look at the last decade, the Rockies has been to the playoffs 5, 6, 7 times, right? And been able to compete. They had some guys out there for a while, So as far as with the D-backs, it's hard to tell which way that they want to go from year to year. Think back, maybe let's say 3 to 4 years, we had this big prospect, Dansby Swanson. What happened to Dansby Swanson?
They traded him away. And the Diamondbacks have just donated to Atlanta over the years. The return that they got for Justin Upton back in the offseason before 2013 was miserable, and they got rid of Shelby Miller. Shelby Miller. That was the fucking return on that. Oh yeah, we can go a little out of bounds on this show too. So I'm just disappointed. It's just like move after move gets you to knock your head against the wall.
Where's Dansby Swanson now? Is he Cubs or
no? He's still. I thought he was.
He's Atlanta.
Was he still with Atlanta? Oh man, this is gonna get me.
We'll come back and we'll let everybody know what Dansby Swanson is at now.
Yeah. Boy, is that gonna get? Was he on that World Series team? I don't.
Ooh, did he play? I know Freddie Freeman, man. Freddie, if you're listening, man, all salute to you, Freddie. You single-handedly won that, man. And I'm so happy for him too, especially with the recovery and everything. He earned that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You see some of these players, like John Lester just retired. Dude had cancer. Doug Davis, who used to pitch for the Arizona Diamondback, came back from cancer. And those are, that's not just baseball. That's life. That's doing what you got to do. That's still with the Braves. Still with the Braves. I'm sure.
Okay.
I thought that he made a contribution in the offseason. I thought that he might be a free agent.
Okay.
And, he could have gotten a deal done before this lockout, but nothing happens until the lockout's over. And right now we're in kind of grave danger of missing out on spring training. Cactus League.
Man.
Big tourism dollars for the Valley. Big opportunity for guys to show themselves against Major League talent in the Cactus League games.
Well, see, I think this stems back from last season when the NBA showed everyone how we're going to go about, making sure that we can get games in as well as, do it safely. And I think, Major League Baseball really dragged their feet for a long time before they were able to implicate, the certain areas where they would play, like, relocating the Toronto Blue Jays and so on and so forth. But I think MLB just needs to figure out a plan, look around at different sports, and, let's get these guys out there so that everybody could make, what is the bottom line is the dollar.
So do you think that we're going to have a 162-game season?
I believe that during the summertime, I believe that COVID should, by that time should at least have relinquished this hold on what it has on, the nation right now, being that it's still a little colder. It is said that the heat kills some things, so I do believe that we would try to have 162 games. And I think that the commissioner is, at this moment, looking to have 162 games.
I think outdoor sports are better than indoor sports. Everybody says that the Browns should build a dome in Cleveland, and I think it takes away from
when you hear the Chips and Salsa show.
Yeah. It's like putting the Packers.
I was going to say, it's like putting the Packers. And what about the Patriots?
If I give you a key and you don't know what it is,
we definitely want to see
you are home. The Valley's News Talk and Podcast. Talk Central Phoenix.
Different elements. So.
You know, it's funny because Tom Brady just retired.
Absolutely.
But, through all the Super Bowls, all the success, the undefeated regular season back in 2007, I think that there's going to be one play that stands out above the rest.
Hit me.
What's that?
Hit me. Which one?
Tuck rule play.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. And then when you look at the man in the arena, which is on ESPN now, he actually says that was his greatest and most memorable game, from on his whole 22 career season, and that's pretty profound. He's won a lot of championships after, had a lot of big games, a lot of big games, but for him to remember that, so there now my thing goes to Jeff. Was that
Yeah, it was.
dudes and dudettes.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you what. That was the early game. I'm out here living in my little studio apartment in Scottsdale, Arizona. I changed the channel. It might not even been the start of the NFC game that was on that day, but I changed the channel. I was gone for like 5 minutes. I flipped back. Patriots have the like. What are they showing highlights? Because all the
Charles Wilson laid that hit. Ethan ran off the field. Even Brady says he thought it was responsible.
It was a stupid. If that was followed to the letter of the law was stupid.
Shout out to Rich Gannon too, man. He was slaying. Rich Gannon.
The Raider teams, them original Gruden teams. Boy, is that guy's just taking a nosedive.
Putting Russia on notice. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Biden again issuing a warning to Russian President Vladimir Putin as thousands of Russian troops remain gathered near the border with Ukraine.
We have no intention of putting American forces, our NATO forces, in Ukraine.
I don't know.
But we are, as I said, there are going to be serious economic consequences if he moves.
But the president says he's seen no change in posture of the troops near the Ukraine border. 8,500 U.S. troops are on heightened alert for possible deployment to Eastern Europe. Scientists and health officials say they're keeping an eye on a descendant of the COVID Omicron variant that's been found in at least 40 countries, which they say can be harder to detect than the Omicron variant. Some say it may be more transmissible. A second day of testimony in the federal civil rights trial of 3 former Minneapolis police officers connected to the death of George Floyd.
The video seen worldwide of George Floyd saying he couldn't breathe was shown on the second day of testimony. Prosecutors say while Jay King, Thomas Lane, and Tu Tao did not help Floyd get relief from a knee on his neck, bystanders saw that Floyd needed help. The defense cross-examined one bystander who admitted not hearing what the defense says happened. At least one of the ex-cops saying that Floyd should be rolled over. The defendants face charges of not giving Floyd medical care. King and Tao also are charged with not stopping the actions of Derek Chauvin, who knelt on Floyd's neck. Gernal Scott,
I'm not trying
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi putting an end to the rumors of her retirement, announcing she will run for re-election.
This election is crucial. Nothing less is at stake
it's okay
than our
because
democracy.
like 72 years
The
old.
81-year-old is the first woman to be elected Speaker of the House. America is listening to Fox News.
The Giants already decided that they were going to hire Brian Daboll, and they still had to interview Brian Flores on Thursday. And did you see
when
the
your finances are spread across dozens of apps, you never know how you're actually doing. Truebill's all-in-one finance app helps you get smarter with your money with a clear financial picture, visual budgeting, powerful bill-cutting tools, and control unwanted subscriptions. Truebill has over 2 million users, helping them take charge of their finances while saving them over $100 million. Take control of your financial life with Truebill today at Truebill.com/Fox News. That's Truebill.com/Fox News.
They definitely
New demands that British Prime Minister Boris Johnson resign after violating COVID rules that he put in place.
Calls are growing louder for Johnson's resignation following leaked information that he had a Downing Street birthday celebration during the lockdown. Now, this is just one of several parties that Johnson attended when restrictions at the time had banned everyone else from gathering inside. An official investigation by the Cabinet Office into the matter is due to be published later this week. In London, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
Michigan's Economic Development Board has approved $824 million in incentives and assistance for General Motors to put electric vehicle and battery plants in its home state, which the company says will add as many as 4,000 jobs. The Detroit-based automaker plans to spend up to $4 billion converting and expanding its assembly factory in Orion Township to make electric pickup trucks, and between $1 and $2.5 billion in a joint venture building a third battery cell plant in Lansing. Elton John has been forced to cancel 2 concert dates in New Orleans after testing positive for COVID-19.
The 2 concerts set for this week at the American Airlines Center will be rescheduled. A statement on the arena's website said that John was vaccinated and is experiencing only mild symptoms. John's website lists his next stop as Little Rock, Arkansas, January 29th. There is no word yet on whether that is still on. The setbacks are the latest for the tour, which began in 2018, but once the pandemic hit, John began postponing dates. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
YouTube is looking ways for its video creators to capitalize on non-fungible tokens. NFTs are a type of digital asset which have seen a surge in popularity over the past year, with people buying artwork and highlights from sports teams and NFTs. A spokesperson didn't elaborate on the potential NFT feature. Simon Silasera, this is Fox News.
That's not stability. And let me give you the precedent on that. It would be Alex Smith. Before Norv Turner got to San Francisco, he went to 4 offensive coordinators.
Are you kidding? I never miss one of your dinner
I'm going to save the topic for another time. We don't need to expound on this, but Baker Mayfield's gone through some coaching changes
thanks to how much smoother everything runs on NetSuite by Oracle.
Fantastic.
We're still using. I can talk to you all night about New York.
Why haven't you upgraded to NetSuite?
This is a local show. We've got the Arizona Cardinals.
Actually,
that's a good
NetSuite gives you visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budgeting, and more. NetSuite is everything you need to grow, all in one place. And 93% of surveyed businesses increase their visibility and control since upgrading from QuickBooks to NetSuite.
Yeah, sounds like it's time for me to switch to NetSuite. Over 27,000 businesses already use NetSuite. For the new year, NetSuite has a new financing program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/Fox. Head to netsuite.com/Fox for this special one-of-a-kind financing offer.
And people don't look at those 2 decisions as equitable.
Well, I mean, that's an opinion's view. I mean, just to touch back on Steve Wilkes, let's not forget he did have, was it Rosen, who was mad about him falling to 13 and he was going to come and do some things.
He was going to beat every team that passed up on.
And that didn't work out so well, right?
News Talk and podcast. Talk Central Phoenix.
Yeah, that didn't work out so well.
Central City radio station.
We moved to the next year, and then we have, which I like to call a mix between Mike Vick and Russell Wilson, which is Kyla Murray. And
you don't think the height's a big knock?
I feel like Kyla just has to. I feel like once Kyla gets it, I feel like he's still in the growing pains of trying to figure out exactly when to throw, when to pass, when to tuck. I think once he figures everything out, I think he's going to be super dynamic. And I do believe that Cliff is the right coach for him. I mean, we're going back to Oklahoma, right?
Right. Wait, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. So I do believe that, at the end of the day, I think they'll figure it out.
Yeah, you got that Oklahoma coach out at USC now, Lincoln Riley. So he went west.
For a long time I was confusing Lincoln Riley and Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know why.
They're handsome white men in their 40s, right? So, all right. So we talked about the Cardinals a little bit. Disappointing end of the season, but as it turns out, they may have just lost to the Super Bowl champs. At the very least, they lost to the NFC champs. The three of the 4 teams in the division made the playoffs. 2 of the 3 were in the NFC Championship. But so obviously you get a team to the Super Bowl representing the NFC there. And I hate to say it because I'm a Cleveland fan and I got my loyalties to the team above the player. Odell Beckham Jr. has been a huge add-on for the Los Angeles Rams. Probably the difference between them sitting on the couch and headed to the Super Bowl, right?
Absolutely. Well,
I mean, Von Miller was there
on
too.
the other side of Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. Well, and he came in at the right time, right after Robert Woods went down. So,
absolutely.
Very convenient. But
great upgrade.
They've got
Robert Woods to Odell Beckham. I mean, that's a great upgrade, right?
I've been watching him for 3 years. You watched Odell Beckham Jr. Play for the Giants for what 6 years?
The catch.
He did have the catch.
And
it's just those moments, those still frames, in our head. And that's
I was so upset that offseason leading up to when we let Odell Beckham go, because right before that we had let Landon Collins go to the Washington Redskins. And
big safety out of Alabama.
Oh man, big hitter. And once that happened, that's when I listen, the Giants, you have a couple more years. Or you're gonna start losing some fans, some diehard fans. So let's get it together, New York. We're New York. Come on, let's get it together.
Well, what are they gonna do? Go root for the not yets?
The Jets? No.
Yeah, that's not an option.
No.
You probably root for Buffalo before you root for the Jets. I won't take you too far down there. The other side of the coin, the AFC playoffs were phenomenal. By the way,
absolutely. The Bengals, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase in the Super Bowl. Who thought they can get there?
Nobody. They won 4 games last year. Yeah. I thought Zach Taylor was just going to put in his year, and they were going to bring in somebody that was ready for what Joe Burrow could bring him. Remember, they won 4 games, but Joe Burrow went down in like October last year. So they had to roll with. Was it Brandon Allen? I know Brandon Allen's their backup now. I don't even care who it was before, because we're not talking about the past. Eyes on the windshield,
absolutely,
not in the rearview mirror. So we look ahead to Super Bowl 56, which will be played at the Rams home stadium in L.A. Rams are 4-point favorites going into that, but I think you've got 2 high-powered offenses, and you got Aaron Donald on the defensive side of the ball. You got Von Miller over there. You got Jalen Ramsey, right? Ooh. So I think we're gonna have a good game. I think that we've had nothing but good playoff games. I'm trying to think if there was really any blowouts. I don't really. I mean, even the NFC game where Jimmy G went out there. I'm gonna tell you God's honest truth. When Jimmy G went out there, I said they have no chance. They have.
I think most of the world felt that way.
And I thought that he got a raw deal after overthrowing Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl. One that the Chiefs won a couple years ago. I thought that you couldn't judge a great season and to that point a great career on 1 second half, but in the biggest game of his life. And I hate to say it, he turned into a pumpkin again.
Well, I mean, it's Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, Bill Belichick.
He's got Debo. He's got some good weapons there in San Francisco.
That's all he has is Debo Samuel. I mean, they got to find.
He's got George Kittle.
Yeah. Oh well. I'm sorry, Mr. WWE. Right. I don't want to knock out Mr. For sure. The defense is stout. I'm just not sure if Jimmy G is that guy. I didn't think that he was. I think that Jimmy G, if he had stayed in New England, I think he would have been that guy. You see, under the tutelage of Bill Belichick. I think once he, went to the West Coast.
Well, it's good that he's not in the way because Mac Jones is there.
Oh, well, listen, Mac Jones is balling.
Are you a big college football fan? I know it's not big in your part of the country.
No, absolutely. I love me some college football.
No, who do you like to watch?
Listen, I love LSU, Ohio State. That's the thing is I watch everybody, man. East Carolina, Rutgers, whoever. When I watch college football, I watch not for the game. I watch to see who can play next level, who dominates that matchup week after week.
Are you surprised to see it from like ECU or Rutgers? One of the non-powerhouses in college football.
Absolutely. And here's the thing is. Speaking of ECU, we had a player at Mason Community College a couple of years ago named Blake Kemp, who also went to Hamilton High School, who led him to 4 straight championships in the 2000s. Came to MCC, led us to a championship, and he went to East Carolina. So East Carolina usually gets good players. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, right? I believe he was a cornerback. He came out of East Carolina.
I don't want to say that he came out of Tennessee, Chattanooga, maybe like an FCS school. Yeah. But still. I mean, big. Here we've got the stories of Tim Rattay, Dale Hellestrey went from and they all go to Louisiana Tech from Scottsdale Community College, and there's a third one. It's a big one, and I can't believe I'm not. Joe Germain, who went from SEC to play at Ohio State, where he beat the local Sun Devils here in the Rose Bowl back in 1997. How about ASU? You follow Sun Devils at all?
Well, Herm is there, so since Herm got there, I've been paying more attention. I mean, he was the former coach of the Jets some years back, but I've been paying attention to ASU slightly. They had a good season this year.
You know, they had a good season. They can't get over the hump though. Yeah, they seem to be stuck.
Rebuilding. I like it.
They seem to be stuck with the at that. It's the same ceiling that Todd Graham hit. So we got to see what coach does next. We got to see what coach does next.
That Pac-12 is rough.
Yeah,
that Pac-12 is rough.
You know what? I used to do a college football show, and back in like 2014, we used to call like the Thursday night games at Oregon State. We used to call that Pac-12 suicide because if it was Oregon, it didn't matter if it was Oregon, if it was USC, they'd figure out a way to lose at like the end of October, where there was just enough time, but maybe not quite enough time to bounce all the way back. And speaking of bouncing, it's time for us to bounce here. Thanks to my guest, Ernest Hester from Mesa Community College, and he's my right-hand man on the radio now. Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Thanks for coming by the Central City Radio Studios. I hope to see you around here a lot more, brother.
It's an honor, Jeff, man. I'm so happy to be here, man. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks for your time, man.
All right, Jeff.